The information you're going to get tonight is going to be amazing and just really kickstart off your week. Listen, you get a reset, right? You get a day off. You get a day to kind of, revamp yourself. And this information you get tonight, I'm sure is going to help you.
All right, so this is a special edition. Actually, let me take this off because this is not Good Morning Millionaire. You know what I mean? This is something completely different. This is a Nove mentorship call right here. And I think you're going to enjoy this a lot. You may want to share it with some people. It's Labor Day weekend, but we call it leverage over Labor Day weekend, right? We want to celebrate this idea of you working smarter, not harder. We want to celebrate this idea of you taking advantage of the land of opportunity. So share this training with a bunch of entrepreneurs who need it. Many of you know my name is Haziq Ali. I'm blessed and fortunate to be one of the founders of a company that just made the Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing companies in America. A lot of that happened during the pandemic, like when all hell was breaking loose all around the country. But, I want to break down some things because I truly believe that if you become a better leader, everything in your life is going to get easier. Can I get a witness? Who we got checking in right now? Hey, Trisha. All right, my man Mark in the house. Big perk up in here. Let's get it. Let's get it. Okay, Tanisha, I see you. Make sure you share this with a few people. Ashley, what's up, Queen? Yeah, what's up, Bianca? Let's get it, y'all. All right, she's about to do my introduction, and we're going to get started, everybody. The lovely Mrs. Alicia Goins, Allie Goins.
Recording started.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Nove mentorship call. But it is called each and every Sunday evening at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And listen, we are super excited to have you here on the line.
Let's get it.
I'm your co-host tonight, Alicia Goins from Wilmington, North Carolina. And I hope that you have a notebook. And I hope that you are ready for the information you're getting ready to get because, listen, it's going to help you leverage over Labor Day, okay? I hope everybody's being safe out there. No matter when you're hearing this call, the information you're going to hear tonight is going to be a game changer, okay? Tonight's speaker is going to be going over the different leadership myths and exactly how to overcome them. So seeing how you've got an extra day, you got a break, right? You got some time to get some self-love in, some self-care, a day off from the job. Really, really take this information serious, okay? No matter what it is you do, if you're a parent, I don't know if you're already in leadership.
Let them know where you're from.
If you're leadership in leadership in your church, whatever the case may be, even a leader in your home. Like if you're a leader in your home, you know that whether or not you have children there or not, you are a leader in your home. Tonight's information is going to help you do just that, okay? So without further ado, I want to go ahead and give you the information. I hope you've got a notebook. And tonight's speaker is Mr. Haziq Ali. He is the Chief Marketing Officer of our amazing company, Nove. And listen, we are a Inc. 5000 company. That means we're one of the fastest growing companies in America. So listen, just pat yourself on the back for even being here tonight because listen, you're going to be one of those powerful pieces. Because listen, you're getting poured in tonight by this phenomenal individual. Okay, now he's been an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur the majority of his life.
Let's get it, boss man.
He's been featured on 60 Minutes, and he makes you look at 60 minutes of your day a lot different. Okay, he makes sure that you're expanding your mind to reach your goals. All right, he had his first business in junior high. Went through some adversity, some bankruptcy, foreclosure. Was homeless, and listen, he always talks about how. Just about, 6 to 7 years ago, he was homeless and living in his car. And now, remember what I said, he's the CMO of a Inc. 5000 company, okay? Listen, he has generated an excess of $500,000 in revenue. And that was then. He's doing a lot better now, okay? He's a founding member of Nove. He's typically the number one recruiter in direct sales in anything that he comes across, okay? Now, listen, he is extremely in high demand. He's an award-winning speaker, trainer, TV and radio show. You can catch him every morning with Good Millionaire. Look up Millionaire Minded TV on YouTube and you'll see that. And listen, like I said, tonight he's got some amazing information. So without further ado, I hope that you have a notebook ready, okay? Mr. Haziq Ali, are you on the line, sir?
I am, Queen. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Take it away.
Thank you so much for your leadership, Queen. This weekend was a really powerful example of leadership from you because you not only helped us put together this training that shook the rafters. I've been getting so many messages in my inbox. I got so many text messages. I'm so glad that I'm a part of this amazing company. And it had a lot to do with you organizing and prioritizing and in putting together all of the structure that we needed. On top of that, though, you had a catering event. So it's just amazing to watch you pull it off and you make it look so easy. On top of that, you're an incredible mother of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kids that are in the house from the ages of 8 to 18 years old. You and your husband are just a really incredible example of leadership. And I thought that this was a really cool thing for us to talk about this weekend because it's leverage over Labor Day weekend, baby. And if y'all don't know nothing else about the word leverage, then you need to know that should be one of your favorite words. Leverage over Labor Day weekend is where we are. And I just want to celebrate this idea that we live in a land of opportunity, but you still got to pay a price. I say this in one of my songs. I'm like, whoever think freedom free, you ain't free, you dumb. You know what I mean? And so when you look at the society we live in, and you may want to write this in your comments. This may be the kind of thing you want to throw in your power book. What I always talk about is that every problem you see in society is really a problem of leadership. Every problem you see in your relationship is really a problem of leadership. Every problem you see in your family is really a problem of leadership. A lot of times what we do, though, is that we study algebra. We study, sales. We study these marketing techniques, but we don't study ourselves as much as we should. Isn't that interesting? This is the most powerful machine that you have at your disposal, right? When you start to combine your body and your mind, and we don't study it a lot. But leadership is one of those things that warrants a little bit more study because all around the world, what you're seeing is a battle between who's going to take leadership. Whether you're talking about your child, and keeping them off drugs or keeping them out of the I'm not even gonna go there, but what you're trying to do is figure out, do you have more influence over the guy on the corner, right? But what we do a lot of times is that we try to influence others the way we would want to be influenced. If I'm talking to my child and I am talking to him about what I want him to do, but it's based on the way I do it, then what I'm doing is I'm missing an opportunity to lead. But I'm getting ahead of myself. There are a lot of myths about leadership that hold us back, y'all. And before we start exploring these leadership myths, I got a couple for you that are just myths in general. Like, here's a question for you. Check it out. Is this true or a myth? Caffeine and its effects are addictive. Let's just start there. Is that true or a myth? Caffeine and its effects are addictive. Now, some of you have never been on a Nove mentorship call. Some of you don't know that we bring you this millionaire-minded mentorship every Sunday. It's always either me or one of my 2 business partners. And this is a little bit different from the way we do it. You got to be interactive. So I want you to think about this. Write it in your comments. What do you believe about this? Is caffeine effective? Is caffeine and its effects addictive or not? I can hear it now. A bunch of people like, oh man, I got to have my coffee in the morning. I can't start my day without it. I'm addicted. We even feel what some people call withdrawal symptoms when we don't get our morning Starbucks or whatever you call that. I'm not even sure if that's real coffee. But this is a myth, millionaires. By accepted definitions of addictive, caffeine is not addictive. I got another one for you. True or false, right? Is this true or a myth? I need less sleep as I get older. Is that true or is that a myth? I need less sleep as I get older. Check it out. I know what you're going to think. A lot of us sleep a lot less as we get older, right? We know the baby be sleeping almost all day. So we assume that as we get older, our sleep needs decrease. But this is a myth. While getting enough sleep is healthier mentally and physically, a lot of us believe that we need less of it as we get older. We need the same amount of sleep regardless of what age we are. I got another one for you. Is this a truth or a myth? Eating at night causes weight gain. Eating at night causes weight gain. Is that true or is that a myth? A lot of us, we don't eat, late at night because we think it leads, or we don't eat late at night because we think that's going to help us lose weight, right? There are many of us who think that, even if we adopt this age-old practice of eating a real big breakfast, a lighter lunch, and then an even lighter dinner, that's going to help us lose these pounds. But that's a myth. It don't matter. None of that. All that matters is how many calories you take in versus how many calories you burn. Is that interesting? Did you know that all of those things I just now talked about were myths? Because if you didn't, I don't want you to be surprised, because most people come to believe these fabrications. Why? A lot of times it comes from the fact that these are myths, mythology. We start to remember them more because it comes to us kind of like with a story. We have this uncanny ability to remember the specifics about myths far more readily than the details about the real mundane but true facts of life. It's much easier to recall information when it's in the form of a narrative that somebody told us, as opposed to its raw, uncut state. In other words, myths make it easy. Write that in your comments. Myths make it easy. And sometimes myths can be of tremendous benefit to us. A lot of times, a myth helps us feel stronger and more inspired. We can remember a situation that we can learn from, that we can grow from. Captivating stories always allow us to kind of make sense of these complex matters and situations that happen in our lives that may cross psychological lines or political lines or societal lines, right? Cultural lines, even spiritual lines. Many of us believe in different religions because of, the different stories we were told. Is that a fact? But without challenge, what happens is these myths start to become gospel. And next thing you know, we're hanging under these thoughts. We're hanging under these practices that really don't work. I give you one. Experience is the best teacher. How many of us have heard that? Experience is the best teacher. Do you know experience can rob you of your potential? Do you know experience can rob you of your destiny? Because what will happen is you'll start comparing your vision, or you'll start comparing your dream to your experience. You're like, nobody's ever done this before, right? You're looking behind you. You're like, oh, I tried that before. That didn't work. Now experience becomes your prison. That's what we mean by myth. So what we're going to talk about today are 10 of the most common leadership myths that are holding most of us back. Because it's leverage over Labor Day weekend. If you're ready for number one, let me hear it. Write it in your comments. Number one, you may want to share this with an entrepreneur. You may want to share this with a leader. You may want to share this with a parent. You may want to share this with an employee. You may want to share this with an entrepreneur. You may want to text message somebody this phone number to get on right now, because you never know what kind of idea can change the rest of your life. Here's the first one I got for you. This is a myth about leadership. Some of you believe some of these myths, and it stops you from not only being a leader, it stops you from even wanting to be a leader, because you're like, I don't want to be that kind of person. But you've been lied to, man. Here's the first one I got for you. Aggressive leaders are who get the results. Aggressive leaders are who get the results. Millionaires, that's a myth. Not always. As a matter of fact, all those movies we watched aside with the aggressive drill sergeant that's cussing out you and cussing out your mama. Well, that's the Army. That's a little bit different. In real life, a lot of times what forceful leaders do is they introduce performance barriers. They anger the people that they rely on. Being aggressive is not the sign of strength that you get from the movies and all of this crap. A lot of times being aggressive is really a sign of insecurity. It's a way to make it's a way to allow you to hide your weakness. It's a mask that a weaker individual wears. It often leads to relying on concession and people who just yes man you to death. It leads to relying on coercion to get things done, because people are following you not because they're inspired, but because they feel fear. So what does that do? That results in bare minimum effort. You hear me? That now you got minimum results. You got all of these limited results. People hate your guts, right? Meanwhile, loving leaders who work well with other people are the ones accomplishing the mission. Who's ready for number two? Who's ready for number two? Here's the second myth I got for you. Leaders are supposed to have all the answers. Listen, my homies laugh at me all the time. We have a whole leadership advisory team. Man, they be full of laughing emojis because I'd be like, man, and how do I work this PowerPoint? Right? But I'm not insecure. It's just like, I don't know. So I'm going to ask and then I'm going to figure it out. But a lot of us, we believe that we somehow look weak for being honest. Millionaires, what a world this would be if every leader is just expected to have all. Now, don't get me wrong. You can't be out here proud to not know nothing. But leaders are supposed to have all the answers. My God, let's hope not. This complex world we live in is way too mercurial. It's way too volatile for us to have all the answers all the time. And anybody who thinks that they got to have every solution is fooling themselves. But who they not fooling is us, right? They ain't fooling the people they work with, right? Because we know we all got to depend on each other to fill in the gaps. We all got to make it so that the sum total is greater than the total of its parts, right? We all got to make it so 1 + 1 can equal 11. And when we depend on each other to fill in the gaps, to give ourselves the insights into what we might be missing, when we depend on everybody to provide their expertise, we get bigger. Being vulnerable, being humble, that creates this bridge to team members. That creates this bridge to trust. That creates this bridge to creativity. And it's all starting with the leadership. Leadership ain't a position, y'all. Leadership is a disposition. Give me a number 3 and a share. Let's get it. If I'm going too fast, I apologize. But that's why I decided to make sure that we're recording this on Facebook and YouTube as well, because I know I talk fast and I get excited, and I got 10 of them I'm trying to get through for you. I really want you to think about your leadership, because every problem in society, every problem in our culture, every problem in this country is really a problem of leadership. And if you have the ability to create joy and you're not doing it, what you're doing is creating misery. Here's number 3. This one keeps a lot of people from even wanting to take the lead. What do they always think? Leaders don't have enough time. Y'all ever heard that one or thought that one? Keep it real with me. Leaders don't have enough time. Check this out. No one feels like they have enough time. Leaders ain't no different from nobody else. Nobody feels like they have enough time. Time is limited, no doubt about it. And there are only but 24 hours in a day. But the best leaders make better choices on how they spend that time. Shouts out to my man Earl Fanbro. He was kicking it with him this weekend about how time is like money, you know? But time is even more valuable. But it has a lot of similarities to money in that you can spend time, you can waste time, or you can invest time. Just like you can spend money, you can waste money, or you can invest money. I always talk about how poor people can't afford Starbucks, you know, but then the middle class, they like, I deserve some Starbucks. But then the wealthy are like, man, do you know what I could do with $10 a day times 5? That's $200 a month. I could be stuffing, right? They're doing it because they're looking to invest their money. What if you thought the same way about time? Shouts out to Earl to Pearl. Man, I'm nothing if not a student, baby. And that's what I'm saying, right? We got to make it so that, and it's funny because it's like I'm probably repeating something that Earl learned from me, and now I'm repeating it back. You gotta love it. You know what I mean? So what we're saying here is that we want to put our time aside to increase our self-awareness. We want to put some time aside to investing and building relationships. We want to put some time aside to care for ourselves, to care for our team. Some of your teammates right now would love a personal phone call from you. Sometimes you feel like you don't have the time to do that. But let me tell you what happens. Problems schedule themselves. When's the last time you had to plant some weeds in your yard? The weeds grow on their own. What you got to schedule is the pleasure. You got to schedule your priorities because the crises are going to schedule themselves. And this is what leaders understand. They understand that what they got to do is invest their time in their employees. They got to invest their time in their teammates. And then they understand that in return, those teammates, those employees will invest their discretionary energy in return. They will invest their discretionary ideas in return. But you always got to remember it's your move first. Leadership is not an action. Leadership is not leadership is not a position. Leadership is an action. Leadership is a disposition. Here's number 4, y'all. Here's number 4. Y'all ready? I ain't going too far, right? I ain't going too fast, right? Here's number 4. Check it out, y'all. There's a myth going around that extroverts make better leaders. A lot of people think extroverts make better leaders. Do you know that's a myth? The main difference between the extrovert and the introvert is that extroverts think as they speak, and introverts speak after they think. Isn't that interesting? A lot of people think that extroverts make the better leaders because a lot of times extroverts are always talking. But I'm going to be honest with you. They both have tremendous advantages, and then they both have some disadvantages. One of the most powerful things about an introvert is that as an entrepreneur, you're here to solve problems. As a leader, you're here to help your people solve their problems or solve the problems that are between where we are now and where we're trying to be. How the heck can you solve problems if you never even collected the information? If you weren't even listening, if you weren't even thinking before you start talking? Now, I'm not saying that extroverts are bad leaders. I'm not saying that introverts are always the best. I'm saying that they both have advantages. They both have disadvantages. So for you to believe that extroverts are always better leaders, that's just a myth. Neither one has the edge over the other one where leadership is concerned. It's a myth. Both can exude love. Both can be authentic. Both can live in the moment. Both can find joy in the workplace or create joy and passion in the workplace. What we got to do is get to know ourselves so we stop rolling with these myths. Here's number 5. We ready? Give me a number 5 and then share this with somebody who needs it. Shoot a text message to somebody who needs to be here right now. Catch them up on the 5 they missed. But make sure they're here to listen with you for the last 5. So that way you have an accountability partner and you have a different set of mind on the same problem. You get to create a mastermind alliance around some of this information. The brain works off stimulation. So what you need is more people around you that are on the same page so we can get there further, faster, with less effort. Here's number 5 for you. Millionaires, leaders don't make hard decisions based on feelings. That's another myth. That's another one of them things that we get from pop culture. We get from watching the movies and whatnot. Feelings don't matter, feelings ain't facts and all of that. Let me tell you something, man. The ultimate dance in life is a dance between what you desire and what you fear. That's what you're doing, right? Everybody needs a little uncertainty. Everybody needs a little certainty, right? If it's too much certainty, then you're bored. If it's too much uncertainty, you're living in terror, right? Life is a dance. But when you're out here talking about leaders don't make hard decisions using their feelings, we all know that leaders have to make tough decisions all the time. We all know that. In fact, it's one of the things that leaders are paid to do. A lot of times these decisions are based on data, as they should be. But don't get it twisted. When we base our decisions only on data, only on metrics, and we ignore the feelings of the people who are impacted by these decisions, we miss a tremendous opportunity to build bridges. We miss a tremendous opportunity to build trust. Millionaires, that ain't leadership. How are you going to be a leader if you can't get that intrinsic buy-in from your people? This is why you always hear us talking about EQ. EQ always beats IQ. Especially in these days and times where people are more connected than they ever were. I don't know how many of us think about it, man, but the more you understand yourself, the more you'll understand other people, right? The more you get in touch with your own feelings, the more you'll be able to empathize with other people's feelings. Isn't that interesting? The more you're compassionate with yourself, the more you'll be able to be compassionate with other people. Some of you are really hard on the people around you because you're really hard on yourself and you're functioning off mythology. You think this is the way a leader is supposed to operate. Maybe it's the way your dad operated. Maybe it's the way your mom operated. And since you look up to them, you're like, yo, that's the natural way I'm supposed to do it. But study. And then what study will do is begin to bring you new insight, new perspective. And now you got more options. You can choose to go with the stern one, or you can choose to go with the one that's compassionate. You get to alternate and decide what fits what situation the best. Isn't that what freedom is all about? Here's number 6. You know, there's a myth out here that goes that leaders always tell it like it is. That's another myth, right? And it keeps certain people, you know, spring personality, from wanting to be a leader, right? A lot of times, if you believe that leaders are always these like tell it like it is, harsh, direct people, and you don't feel like that fits into your vibe, it'll make you cower to the back. Now you barely asking questions when they asking for questions. You barely standing up and introducing yourself. You barely taking the lead when that project pops up because you like, I don't want to be a jerk. Well, check it out. This is one of the most common misconceptions about leadership is that leaders are always, you know, and yeah, they need to be confident, but the whole idea that they take this no holds barred approach to telling it like it is stops some of us who have the most ability from stepping up to the plate. That's a myth. Rarely, if ever, is this the best approach to influencing people. The way we deliver a message is not the way everyone receives it. This is why leaders need social awareness. This is why leaders need sensitivity. Because if you're going to convey your vision in a way that people can feel you, not just hear you, right? If you're going to convey your vision in a way that somebody can understand and be inspired, the best leaders have a connection with their employees and they're able to deliver the message in a way that'll ultimately be better received. You know, in the biggest, greatest book about entrepreneurship ever written, it says, you dwell with your wife according to knowledge, right? You dwell with your wife according to knowledge. What does that mean? That means that you should be getting to understand the people who are under your leadership. And then you should be dealing with them according to where they are. Now, that's good advice, even if you ain't, you know, talking about a marriage. Who's ready for number 7? Give me a number 7. Give me a number 7 and a share. Y'all still with me? If you're listening in on a live line, I know we going, I still got 3 more to give you. That's why I was talking so fast earlier, but I have to remember. Let me slow down, you know. Only the elite are gonna watch this over. Most of y'all just gonna move on to tomorrow. So I just want to make sure I slow down so you catch it the first time. Here's number 7. There's a myth that goes, leaders make mission first. Leaders make mission first. That's a whole myth out here. And the problem with this thing that you hear people repeat all the time is that a mission can't be accomplished without its people. Think about that. Think about that. It's people who are going to implement the decisions that are made by the leaders. It's people that are going to devote their time and their energy to accomplish the mission. It's the people. And if the people don't come first, then the mission accomplishment is going to be mediocre at best. At worst, it's never going to get accomplished. Of course, mission matters. You know what I mean? It's the reason that we work in any given organization. But having mission first, by definition, means that everything else is coming second. And if all you're doing is waving this mission accomplished flag, but all the people feel undervalued and uncared for, let me tell you what you got. You got a failure. This next one is huge. I love the fact that Mrs. Goins just now shared with you, you know, that I was just now homeless, et cetera, so forth, living in my, this is when I started saying the same affirmations I say today. Way before I became a millionaire, I was in my car sleeping and be like, I am now a millionaire, right? But this was way against all odds because I have no college degree. I have none of these bells. And I got friends with more degrees than a thermometer, you know, and still ain't got two nickels to rub together, right? But you function under this myth that leaders are highly credentialed and educated. Now, I want to be clear. Leaders are absolutely going to be students, but that does not mean they have degrees. And this is maybe one of the biggest fallacies of leadership. Not only have numerous individuals that you can think of right now and name off the top of your head lacking in a lot of these well-known college degrees, but what's even crazier to some is that they failed miserably at school. And then you got ones that are, you know, well-known college degrees, et cetera. So, and then they fail miserably as leaders. Now, I'm not in any way suggesting for you to try this at home. That's not what I'm saying. I don't want nobody out there saying, oh, you know, because that, you know, I may not have, you know, but I'm going to tell you, I don't know how many of y'all were there when my brother was talking about, he would open my cabinets and books would fall out, hitting him on the head and stuff. Books all over my bathtub, books all over my nightstand. You open the nightstand, there's more books. Like, I probably have more books than clothes. You get what I mean? So don't get it twisted. I'm not saying that in capitalism, which is based on ignorance, you can earn more without learning more. That ain't what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that many of you have fantastic experiences. Many of you don't realize that your pain is your credential. I'm talking about your story is what's going to give you your glory. You just have to be brave enough to share it. You know some things because you done been through some things. What matters most is your ability to continue to know yourself and continue to learn yourself and the people that work for you and the people that work with you. This human connection is the part that matters the most. Here's number 9, y'all. There's a myth that says great leaders are born. I only got 2 more for you. There's a myth that says great leaders are born. And sometimes this is true, but not always. I'm going to tell you what creates leaders. The times around you. It's the times that you live in. A lot of times people are dragged kicking and screaming to greatness. You know, Martin was about to give it all up, man, when he got this one, you know, death threat where the person's voice was a little eerie to him, gave him chills. He was like, this person's serious. You know, if you study Malcolm X, same thing. You know, right before he's about to write that ballad or the bullet speech, he was going to not even give it. You know, this call for Black nationalism, this call for, you know, them always trying to mitigate our political power back in the 60s. I think it was 1964. This really tumultuous political scene, right? Check it out. It's the times that created these types of leaders. We all have the capacity to learn. We all have the capacity to lead. We all have the capacity to learn to lead. Leadership takes continual work. It takes continual learning throughout your career. But what you got to realize is that a lot of times, once you begin to find a mission that's bigger than your personal ambition, you just made yourself a leader. Get passionate about a problem you see. We're not limited in any way by any kind of genetic predisposition or composition or skin color. Some of us have the complexion of rejection, while some may have the complexion of connection. But guess what? You going against all odds is just going to make you even more inspiring to the people around you. My mentor talks about it all the time. He gets hired a lot by people with, you know, my brothers of another color, because of the fact that they cannot believe that this Black man was born on the floor of an abandoned building in Liberty City, and here he done rose to the heights, the highest heights that you can imagine. That's inspirational. Nobody gets inspired by a trust fund, baby. We get inspired by the idea that if you ain't come from a rich family, then a rich family got to come from you. This is the last one I got for you, y'all. And this is a big myth, but I hope you're feeling it, right? I hope you learn something that's going to help you increase your disposition, you know, and increase your ability to take advantage the opportunities that are created by adversity around you. Because what the world needs is more leaders. But there's a last myth out there I want to share with you, right? People believe that humble leaders get taken advantage of. People believe that humility is a liability for a leader. That an even better word than humility would be meekness. They believe that if you're meek of spirit, you'll get taken advantage of, but this is only true if the leader allows it to happen. Leaders with humility show tremendous character. Am I right? Leaders with humility show tremendous strength. Leaders with humility and a meek spirit are better able to connect with other people, right? They're better able to build high-performing, productive teams. All throughout history, war after war after war after war. It ain't the better funded army that'll win. It's the ones that are fighting for a mission. Isn't that interesting? Invention after invention after invention. You know, the Wright brothers was up against a cat named Pierpont. You know, because a lot of y'all say, I can't do it because I don't have the resources. I don't have a team. I don't have the fame, you know. But when they were fighting to get the first plane in the air, Pierpont had all the resources. He was backed by all the major corporations of the day. And the Wright brothers were some bicycle mechanics. But let me tell you how I know that what I'm saying is true. Once the Wright brothers achieved flight, they got that thing off the ground. They would bring enough equipment out the house so that they could crash 5 times a day. They were bicycle mechanics. Their uncle was telling them they were blaspheming just by conceptualizing that man could fly. Their uncle, who was a town bishop, was telling them if man was meant to fly, then God would have gave him wings. The minute they got that thing to take off, the dude Pierpont quit completely. He was like, since I can't be first, man, screw it. And that's why you barely know his name, except I'm a weirdo that remembers this kind of crap. You know what I'm saying? But all I'm saying to you is that it's the meek of spirit leader who's well equipped to address poor performance like crashing when you're trying to get this plane off the ground. It's that meek of spirit leader who's able to address inappropriate behavior clearly and directly. When you are meek, you get what I mean? You listen to God when he speaks. And that's that on that. So in closing, man, you can learn a lot from mythology. These stories give us this grounded sense of like connection to, you know, past and present and even a future. And it's a lot easier to depend on things that we assume to be true. You know, right now we have just a whole epidemic, right, of people who are researching using memes and TikTok videos and poorly researched. I mean, it's just wild, man. But that's always easier than doing the hard work to discover the truth for ourselves. And when you're talking about a society that's so time sensitive, it's so hyper competitive. It's no wonder that you can get a false story to blow up so quick. There's this book called Trust Me, I'm Lying that I'm trying to get my daughter to read. Speaking of influence, because it breaks down how quickly a bad story, a false story gets picked up because everybody's just trying to be first to the press. They ain't got time to research. If this website put it out, they're assuming they did the research, and then the feeder site, next thing you know, it's on the major sites. It's amazing. But what I'm saying is, you put a little bit of extra with yours, and you're going to be extraordinary. If you don't fall for the same tricks as all of them, before you know it, you're a leader. You're going to look behind you, and people are following you. Millionaires, don't depend on mythology. Don't depend on legend. Don't depend on stories as substitutes for effective leadership. The role of the leader is way too important to fall into the trap of leaning on unproven theories about what works. Because you know what's going to happen? It's just like starting something and then stopping. People are going to trust you that first time until they find themselves getting ridiculed because they repeated something you said, and now they're going to look at you as a fool. Instead of accepting things at face value, leaders have to be lifelong learners and seekers of the truth about who we are, how we relate to other people, what is our impact on the organization, on the city, the state, the country, the planet. And this demands that we stay students. This demands that we stay in a spirit of discernment. This demands that we stay in a spirit of reflection. And I ain't just talking to you, I'm talking to me. So with that said, I'm gonna end this right here. You know what I mean? But I want you right now, I'm gonna unmute the line, right? If I can remember how to do it. Y'all know I'm horrible with this part right here, but we're gonna try it. First, I'm gonna say my name, and then I'm gonna repeat a mantra, and I dare you repeat it too. It goes a little something like this. My name is Hazik Ali. Hold up.
Muted.
My name is Hazik Ali. Hold up.
Unmuted.
That still ain't work. But anyway, hold up. Let me figure out how to do this. Hey, somebody tell me how to unmute the line so I can do the cool thing to McCain. The McCabrys be freaking that joint, right? All right, here we go. My name is Hazik, and I am a leader.